Ladies and gents, welcome back to another video. Inside here, we've got an iPod Touch 4th generation. This one, I believe, comes with its original box, and this iPod has never been updated. Still running iOS 4. Let's get it opened up, see what kind of condition it's in, and hopefully, we've got an iOS 4 iPod Touch 4th gen. Let's get into it. Alright, so we've got the iPod here, and the case here, I don't know why they didn't ship them together, but this is fine. Here is the iPod Touch. Looks to be in pretty good condition. It's the black color. It's an 8 gig model. The back is pretty heavily scratched, but that's to be expected if this thing was used at all. Here is the box. It's just a very small little clear plastic box. Let's see if we got any accessories. I'm not expecting any. And the box feels pretty light, so I'll be surprised if there's anything in here. Oh, we actually got the earbuds. These are the old ones. All right, that's pretty cool. We'll leave those in there. Of course, we've got our quick start guide and all that good stuff. Very nice. So we'll put that box to the side, and we're going to see if this iPod has any power. And it does. We're going to let that boot up, and hopefully it's got enough battery to get us through this video. As it finishes booting, I went ahead and cleaned off the display, which looks really nice now. This thing was definitely taken good care of. Appears to be in very good condition. The only thing is a dent up here. We're missing a little bit of that plastic bezel that runs all the way around the outside of the iPod, but that's okay. Here we go. We are met with iOS 4. This is, I think, 4.1 because we've got the green FaceTime icon. It was later changed to that silver and white one that we know. Let's see what version we've got. 4.2.1. Okay, so I was wrong about that. 8 gig model, of course. Nothing on here. Very clean device. Let me turn that brightness up for you guys. There we go. Check that out. iOS 4.2.1 on an 8 gig iPod Touch 4th gen. I have actually been able to find, I'm not going to say quite a few of these, but they're more common than some other devices, such as like a 3GS on iOS 3 or an iPhone 7 on iOS 10. In terms of difficulty, this is probably one of the easier devices to find, but that doesn't mean we can't enjoy it when we get them. Here's our 0.7 megapixel rear camera. Really bad quality photos, and the front camera is 0.3 megapixels, so even worse there. We're not even taking 720p videos. This thing is not good, but this was an iPod Touch that kind of changed the game for Apple. This was the first iPod to feature not only one camera on the back, but also a camera on the front. So we got two cameras. We got new improved volume and lock switch buttons. We got a little microphone there on the back, 30-pin charging port, and a headphone jack, which remained the same on the previous models. But we also got a dedicated speaker grill, which was nice. The older iPods just had a speaker underneath the display, which didn't sound very good. Not that this one sounds good today, but at the time, this was a decent sounding device. Let me get connected to the Wi-Fi here, and we're going to see if the App Store and the iTunes Store are working. As far as I remember, when I did this a couple weeks ago, they were not working, but that seems to kind of go back and forth. So we're going to see if they are working today. The date is February 15th, 2024. I'll be surprised if they work. It seems like once they stop, they're kind of down for months at a time. I'm expecting an error message there. We'll try iTunes, but I think it's going to be the same thing. And it is, so that's unfortunate. iTunes and the App Store are not working, but there are some other methods you can jailbreak and install applications using a Mac computer, which is pretty easy, and there are lots of guides on how to do that online. So the iPod Touch 4th gen, this launched alongside the iPhone 4, and it kept the nice, beautiful Retina display found on the iPhone 4. This was the first iPod Touch to feature a Retina display, and the A4 CPU inside this is there to power that. Unfortunately, this device only has 256 megabytes of RAM, which would prevent this device from getting the iOS 7 update like the iPhone 4 did. But that A4 chip allowed this iPod to get the iOS 6 update, and it allowed for lots of games to be supported here. This iPod Touch also featured an accelerometer, which is the device that knows the orientation of the iPod as it's being turned and tilted, which was big for games. This was back in the day when a lot of games relied on the device being tilted instead of touched because the screens were so small. Even having controls on the display made it more difficult to use. Speaking of that display, this Retina display looks very nice, even by today's standards. It is small, but the resolution is really good. Text is sharp, and the colors are pretty nice as well. Although the viewing angles on this iPod Touch are not ideal, you kind of lose some colors as you begin to tilt the device. Overall, this is really clean. The battery appears to be working just fine, which is sometimes an issue on these older iPods, as the batteries were not the same quality as they used in the iPhones. But this iPod Touch was really a game changer for Apple. I knew so many people that got one of these when they launched, and for a lot of people, this was the first iPod and the first iOS device they ever got. So with iOS 4, you got FaceTime, but there was no iMessage and no iCloud, so that was introduced a year later in iOS 5, which kind of changed the game. You could send iMessages from your iPod Touch, essentially making it an iPhone without cellular connectivity. Super cool device, and this is probably one of the best-selling iPods of all time. It might actually be. If anybody knows what the best-selling iPod is, leave that down in the comments below for the rest of us. And if you've got any other fun facts about the 4th Gen iPod Touch, leave those in the comments as well. I think that's going to do it for this video. This is a super cool iPod, and we got the original box, which is always nice. I'm going to be adding this one to my collection. This will not be for sale like some of the other devices I get, just because I can put it in its little box there, and it's just perfect. I mean, look at it. Wonderful little device here. All right, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this look here at an iPod Touch 4th Gen, iOS 4.2.1 here in 2024. Over 10 years since this thing launched. Beautiful device, and I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in another one of my videos.